Hey everybody, this is Jeff with the show. Name changes. We're just gonna leave it at that. With my lovely host, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sharon.
And today I'm excited to have we have Chad. Am I saying it right? Ferrin. Hope I said that right.
That's right.
All right. Director, writer, producer, actor. Changing my opinion of you're bringing back the goodness of serial killer movies.
Good.
Let's just put it that way. Yes, right. We both have the. So I'm going to say this slowly because I keep saying the wrong name. Ed Kemper, not Geen, or Big Ed, as we like to call him. This gentleman right here, right, and this is played by Brandon Kirk, right?
Yep.
So how do I know Chad? Let me count the ways how I know Chad. I've known you for a long time and not actually know you. I've seen some of your films and didn't like someone's knocking at the door.
Sure.
When I was looking at your filmography, I was like, I saw that. I did see it back in 2009. Forgive me, I don't remember it, but I know I owned it. I had it, so I know I liked it.
Oh, that's a good sign.
I'm gonna go back and watch it again, though. I'm honest on this show. I'm not gonna lie. I know that movie because I owned it and I know I liked it. So the movies that I know besides that, obviously, is Ed Kemper. We just saw a nice cut of it. The Pig Killer. I was rewatching that today.
Right.
Oh my God, dude. Well, there's some things we'll talk about in a minute, but and I got some quotes for it. I told Sharon I ran it by her first because she's a lady and I want to make sure I can say the things without offending her, and she's a trooper. I'll share some of my favorite quotes from this movie. Okay, so hopefully I gave you a good introduction. We are. How do I start? I mean, hello. How have you been?
Good. I'm just I'm prepping to shoot. We start Monday shooting another true crime film, Sunset Strip Killers, based on Doug Clark and Carol Bundy, who killed a few prostitutes and an Australian singer in 1980. So
Wow.
Shooting that start on Monday and finish on August 30th, and then I start shooting Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, in February. So it's true crime haven.
Busy.
It's true crime season. It's back
Yes.
and flourishing. I can't wait to see what you did with the Night Stalker because the Netflix one wasn't so great, in my opinion.
This Night Stalker will be the most shocking thing ever made. I guarantee you. It follows through Richard Ramirez's perspective. So and it doesn't shy away from breaking into houses, sodomizing, raping, shooting husbands in the face. I mean, it gets every gory detail that actually happened, beat for beat, through Ramirez's, perspective. Because
That's
it's like,
crazy.
if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it, Fulci gore, and I'm going to follow it as realistic and true as what happened, but from his perspective. Because the detective angle and all these other angles have been done already, so it's like I don't want to do that. I'm going to go from his perspective. Love it or hate it, it's a horror film, balls to the wall. It was one of the hardest, most disturbing, disgusting things I'd ever had to write. I mean, I'm still having nightmares. It really, that guy, the stuff he did is just unimaginable. And these documentaries and any of that stuff, they do not cover it as nearly as graphic and horrifying as it is. So that's what
They don't.
I'm going for. And, it's one of those things of, if you're going to do it, embrace it and go 100%.
Might as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm 100% on board on that idea.
and if you need people to test it with, here again,
Yeah.
please, because. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about Ed Kemper in a bit, but that's. I'm pumped. I'm excited because of your work with trauma, and I mean, just deep diving into your career because we like to get to know things we can talk about. I mean, so you were a production assistant on Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. Is this true?
Yes.
What can you tell about that? I mean,
that was kind of I came out to California from Minnesota in 1995. Because a babysitter that I had as a little kid growing up had married a producer named Mike Leahy, and he got me a job as a production assistant, and I did reshoots for Halloween and Hellraiser, and then I rolled into a film called Back to Back with Michael Rooker, and then No Way Back with Russell Crowe. So I was doing a slew of these, from production assistant to camera loader to learning every aspect of film production on these small budget, even though it was like each one was like $2 million to $3 million. But for me, it was like, I made Hollywood, working on these giant films, but at the time, and they were small budgets, but not to me, and even still not to me. A couple $1 million is a big thing. So it was a great learning experience and a great time to live in Los Angeles. It really is something I look back on and with great fond memories. And I thank Mike and Lori for giving me the opportunity to learn and to just grow as a filmmaker, and it was a once in a lifetime experience.
And then this was and you said Hellraiser, but you didn't say Hellraiser 4 Bloodline, which is one of my favorite Hellraiser movies.
Yes. I remember having to go to Doug Bradley's hotel with a box of cigars and a bottle of champagne and delivered to him. And, when he opened the door and there's Pinhead, and you're just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And he was such a nice guy. And it was, just certain things like that, or, being on the set with, Gary Tunnicliffe applying the makeup and putting him on all these things that are just, for a 24-year-old kid, it was just like, wow, this is magical. It was great.
Great memories, and that's a time to start.
Yeah.
I think those were in like 94. Hellraiser 3 was 93, so 94 to 96 period seems like you're in LA and Hollywood. As you mentioned, a good time for it to be in Hollywood. I think around the same time of the great earthquake that happened out there.
Yeah,
right?
well, I came right after that. It was right after that happened, so I missed out on the big one.
Yeah, and I ended up in a lot of films. Wes Craven's New Nightmare had a lot of aftermath for the movie, right?
That's right.
You can't build sets like that. You can destroy them, but you can't build them like that.
Right. So, like the Palisades fire. I mean, it's a perfect time to go get down there.
Oh, yeah, for sure, right? Or even during, but that's what artists and filmmakers do. It's not exploiting the moment. It's just you have to grasp. You got to grab a camera, a pencil, whatever your medium is, and you got to capture it.
Right.
That's what we do. It's out of respect, of course. I remember I'm an art student doing an art class, and I remember we would do projects, and our teachers would push the envelope and doing like installation pieces. And I remember I did one in a cemetery where I had a motion box that would play people chastising Marilyn Manson about going to hell and shit.
Right.
And these poor old people are walking by, and this thing goes by, and hostile worlds, sinful. Glory to God. They're all, what the fuck? Oh, shit. But my art teacher goes, that's great. That's what it's about. I'm like, but I feel horrible, man. So pushing the envelope. All right.
Oh.
Let's see. Well, I mean, we could jump right into Ed Kemper. And
Sure.
My question for you is, why do I like this movie? Can you answer that? Why do I like it? I could tell you.
I don't know.
All right. I don't really like it. And
well,
I mean,
for me, it was, when you mentioned those, late 90s and early 2000s true crime films that Steven Johnson, wrote and Michael Muscal produced. And that's kind of how Ed Kemper came to me. So I was a fan of those films. And Mike, wrote me on Facebook and said, hey, I see you're doing these, I just saw that you did a true crime film, Pig Killer. Are you interested in doing any other ones? And I'm like, sure, send me a script. And he's like, I've got, this Ed Kemper script. And he sent the script. The script was amazing. And I'm like, well, let's see if we can get this made. So sent the script out, found some money, got it, and, did a quick rewrite on it to kind of fit a $100,000 budget and shot it in 10 days and, run and gun. But at the same time, trying to get the period correct and all the clothing just right and all the certain things that you have to get right on a period film, because it's anytime I see a film that if it's got the slightest detail off, it kind of ruins the whole experience for me and brings it out.
Yeah.
So for me, no matter your budget, your attention to detail and getting those props and the clothing and the cars and all those things exactly right, making sure there's not a 3-prong outlet and making sure the light switch is, every little detail that's there. And if it's wrong, go back in digitally and remove it. I mean, all these things that, you have to, no matter the budget, get it right, or you're gonna, piss some people off, myself included.
Yeah.
I hate it when a movie just pulls me right out of it, and so that was probably one of the hardest things, but at the same time the most fun, of when you nail it and get it right, and everything works, from the period correct underwear to the the right cigarette to be smoking, or whatever it might be.
The great tidy whities with the hole in the crack. I love that. That's one of my favorite parts. Although, I mean, so the folks are to watch it are gonna be independent or filmed, and people that are into the true crime, perhaps. And like you said, you gotta have to do true to the story as best as you can. I think, and Sharon and I we had some questions on it. And there's one thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you're talking about like staying true to the period. And I think there's a moment, it might have been the first outdoor grape scene, as we say in YouTube.
Sure.
I swear in the background I see a bunch of solar panels sticking out.
Yes, that was one of the things. I was ready to digitally remove those, but I researched, and it was 1969 to 72. There was the first solar farm in Los Angeles, so not Los Angeles, but near the Mojave. Something that I started reading up on it. I'm like, okay, so it did exist, because that was one of the things where I'm like, okay, this location is great,
Perfect.
but you've got that, and we'll have to remove it. But then I read up on it, and I'm like, oh, it did exist, so.
That's what I figured. I know your stuff.
Okay.
That if you have to research it, and you're like, oh, okay, it's fine. So I try to, anything and everything that might be a mistake, I check it and be like, did they have that in 73? Did they have the, so I'm one of those guys that, the Irishman was ruined for me when he popped the hood of that 1950 pickup truck, and there's a 73 radiator cap. So certain things that are, you got a guy who owns that truck, who knows ins and outs about it. You got the set designer and everyone else that should get this shit 100% right. That flew by a multi-million-dollar film is troubling, So I try to, if it's wrong in any way, shape, or form, or there's not something. Okay, this was invented in 1940, so in theory something could be there or whatever. So I kind of can let it slide.
Yeah, I mean, if it was maybe from the period, say, well, he's a car enthusiast and he's kind of rebuilding it, and he had to find more modern parts for that era.
Right.
No, when I saw it, I kind of thought the same thing. Like, I bet you it's to the period, but not too many people would notice that, and I'm surprised I did, to be honest. I give myself some credit for actually paying attention for once in the movie.
Yeah, no,
right. Instead of the scene at hand, which was a pretty crazy scene, Sharon, do you want to share your opinions on the love scenes of this movie?
Oh my goodness. Yes, no, where was it? The scene where he strips off, and assaults that girl that ends up being just unconscious.
Sure.
Was that a deliberate attempt to shock? Because most shows will cut, like they'll show you taking it off, and then they'll sort of show you the scenes.
Oh no, for me,
and that was
for me, I got to show it all, and or why do it? I mean, and that's the other thing with the director's cut, and I always put that in my contracts with distributors, that if they're not going to release the director's cut, the rights to that come back to me, and I can release the director's cut on a physical media, Blu-ray,
right.
DVD,
So
whatever it is. So that
scene is part of the director's cut. That's not in the.
It's in it, but it's a little less. It's more graphic in the version you saw. But and again, it's true of what happened. He only had sex with corpses.
Yeah.
There were, so when she kind of came back to life, and he had to strangle her back, and then he has the flashback of her letting him in the car and all those things. That is 100% factual. And one of the things that, for me, because that part of her unlocking the car and him forgetting the gun in the car wasn't in the original script, but when I read up on his interviews and stuff, he told the whole story of how, it was really weird, because we had this kind of connection, and I put the tape on her mouth, then I get out of the car, and I'd lock the keys in the car, and I'm like, oh my God, and he's telling this whole story, and she's like gives her these puppy dog eyes, and she opens the door, lets him in, and he kills her.
Right?
And that was
insane.
Something that I'm like, oh my God, we got to get that in the script, because well, she was like a 15-year-old girl, and here's an adult, and you're not. There's many times in my life that there's things that you're like, oh my God, if I wouldn't have taken that right turn at that time, I wouldn't have been in the car accident and killed my best friend, or certain things that are like, if I just wouldn't have done the stupidest minute thing, if I would have left 10 minutes sooner or whatever, or not put diesel fuel in my car gas tank instead of gasoline. There's certain things that the minute you make this mistake, you're regretting it forever, and it kind of locks in your mind not to do it. And I can only attribute it to a young, naive girl that got picked up, and then it's messed up, but shit happens.
She had manners in the last moment of her life. It's just she's probably taught to be agreeable, and maybe like an adult thing. It pays tribute to her innocence.
Sure.
It makes it even more sad. He should have that point he said he should have said no. He should have stopped. Right?
You would hope. But
you would hope.
Such a lot.
Yeah.
But this movie was actually funny. I was laughing a lot. I think you intended it to be funny.
I've got to say that. I laughed at the kitchen scene, the heads on the bench.
Yeah. And I'm
like, should I be laughing at this? This is macabre, but
well,
oh dear.
You want to have the light side of it. So I was kind of comparing your film to other like great, like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, right?
Oh, wow, thank you.
Very grindhouse, and I like grindhouse. I can't say in a good way. There's no bad grindhouse, but I don't want to place your movie into a category. But these movies, they're gritty, but your film production, I mean, it doesn't seem that's a lot of money to me what you paid for it, but maybe for a film. Did you see 200,000?
No, it was 100,000.
Okay.
10 days.
But you can't tell. And I'm watching your camera angles because I know you got sometimes the cameras down below and you got the people looking up. Like it's thoughtful, it's right. And
no, I mean, and to me, it's never an excuse to say, look, it's a low budget, it's this, it's that, we didn't have this. To me, it's like, look, you know what you're embarking on. I go through these scripts with the amount of money that I have in hand and the amount of time I have in hand, and usually it's 100,000, 150, sometimes 200, but and then you kind of rework the script to fit the amount you have and the amount of time you have. You've got to do 10 to 12 pages a day. And the team that I work with on the past few films have been, like a well-oiled machine. So we just get together and it's like, the band's back in town and you just roll it out and have a good time doing it. And, if something, you have one or, usually probably 2 to 4 takes with an actor with, a setup or whatever it is. And if they nail it, great. If they don't, move on and, you either cut the scene or work around them or loop them in with another voice or whatever you might do to make it work because, time is money and you just got to move and get as many shots as you can and make it look as big as you can, feel as big as you can and do the best you can. If an audience likes it, great. If they don't, I really don't give a shit because I'm moved on to the next film. And that's the beauty of working and learning and not getting hung up on John Smith on IMDb said your movie's the worst fucking piece of shit ever and the acting's the worst, the cinematography's the worst. And it's like, you haven't seen too many fucking movies then because there is, I can watch Manos, The Hands of Fate or whatever that might be claimed as the worst movie ever made, but there are redeeming qualities within it. I can enjoy it. I can watch it. I don't spend my time focusing on negative aspects of another person's film or whatever it is. If I had an awful time watching something, it's like, okay, I turn it off. I move on. Mm-hmm. And if people had more of kind of a, that movie is a piece of shit, whatever. Here's why it's a piece of shit, blah, 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 blah. Great. I can take that criticism all day and night. But when someone goes on there and says it's the worst movie ever made, the acting's the worst, the camera work is the worst, this is the worst, it's like, what is this guy on?
I'll take him on for you. Send him my way because that's bullshit. And I know who the guy you're talking about. He fucking liked Barbie. He gave that movie a 5-star review. So we know what kind of movies they're watching.
Right.
That's crap. No, I mean,
but it's again, I love good criticism, harsh criticism, whatever it is. But if it's something that's just a bash of calling it the worst thing, it's kind of like that's just it's not a fair example of what a criticism of anything should be. If you're going to hate something, hate it properly and spell out those perfect reasons, and then someone can go, "Oh, great!" Because there's nothing. I love a horrible, a negative review if it's well written. Sometimes those are better than a positive review, and you can read those and you can be like, oh wow, I make note of that. Make sure that someone gets this right or that right, or I should work more on whatever my direction to young children or whatever it might be to try to up my game, or learn things that a well-written negative review could bring about.
Well said. Yeah, me personally, if I don't like it, I'm not going to say anything in general. I'm not a keyboard commando kind of guy,
Yeah, turn it
I
off,
just-
move on.
Yeah, I won't finish it. Going into your film, I know one's going to like it. I'm like, okay, Ed Kemper. Sorry, brain doesn't like names. I didn't expect it to like as much as I did, laugh as much, and because I like to do things differently with our interviews, and I told Sharon beforehand. Let's get weird. Let's get weird for a moment. Step in here and step in my office of weirdness. And Sharon's never heard of the mashup of Pink Floyd and Wizard of Oz.
Right.
I'm assuming you have.
Of course.
Of course, every American, and we all love Pink Floyd, but they're not an American group. So I did that with your film. I figured, Ed Kemper and his mom, if I say this right, Oedipus complex completely, except for maybe on the mom's side. She seemed more into Ed Kemper than he was into her. They switched roles.
Right.
So I did. With the director's cut, I even wrote down the time. So if you're at 2 hours, 21 minutes, and 29 seconds, you need to play The Doors, The End, at 7 minutes, 29 seconds. And it merges pretty cool because he's in the car. And to me, I'm getting David Lynch, Lost Highways vibes with the freeway going on the window, and he's kind of right. I'm seeing. I'm like, and it plays up perfectly. He walks into, spoiler alert, everybody, but not too much. I'm not gonna say a whole lot. But he walks into mom's room, right? And this is the, mother, yes, son, I want, so you keep it playing until after that stuff happens, and then the friend comes back. And it's just like it was like piecing it together. I might need to move a few seconds here and there, but man, I'm telling you, it was pretty cool. I worked on it for about 20 minutes. I wanted.
You've got to send me a link to that. That's great.
Yeah, I should see if I can edit it somehow, or at least this time frame, because I thought it was pretty kind of cool. Not everything lines up, but I thought it was neat because that's what I'm thinking. I'm watching the film and I'm thinking, man, it's like The Doors, and he's going to the mom's room and it's kind of playing like that scene from the song. I'm like, sure, this would be fun. So yeah, check it out, because that's what I deep dove into your film. I was loving every minute of it.
Sharon, that's something, talking about, Pink Floyd or The Doors or any of these things. Whenever I write a script like, Night Stalker, it's like you're putting in AC/DC songs or whatever. It's just to kind of give you a mood when you're reading it or whatever. Not that you could ever afford any of these amazing songs from the period, but the idea of making you're reading something, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap comes on, or whatever it might be, that kind of just puts you in the mood of this scene and kind of builds a thing. And it just gives, reading a script, which most people find to be kind of a laborious thing, more of a novel kind of feel, and you're going through it and kind of really get into the driver's seat with Richard Ramirez, because you're hearing these songs of the period or before that inspired him. And, certain things, Judas Priest or whatever it might be, that kind of just kick it into gear when, these things for me. So for me, I totally, get when you play The Doors to that, and certain things just kind of it makes the experience just more thrilling and more, it adds another level to the film. And it's neat that you did that.
I wish life, I guess you can now, certain glasses you can have music in, but I want an implant where I'm doing this and I got music playing in my head so I don't go deaf anymore. I can hear it. I can tune out the kids in the car when they're too loud on the road trips, It's internal. We need to be more internal, but someone's going to hack it and then they'll be able to make us all wonky. So if you turn that into a movie, just give me a little bit of credit. Serial killers that had because the chip embedded and then someone hacked in and made them a serial killer. Fucking genius,
There was a film called Terminal Man.
They already did it.
Directed by Mike Hodges, that did Get Carter and Croupier, and it was George seagull gets whatever implant in his brain to help the endorphins. I can't remember what it was, but it turns him into a killer, and he goes crazy. And
that's probably where I got it from. Damn it!
It's not original.
Nothing's original. I mean, it's already been done, and most of.
But you've never heard of it, so it can be redone. It's one of those.
Yeah, well, true.
It could be redone, and I think we could do it better. More creative. Because Hollywood movies, I can't really remember the last one I saw that I really enjoyed. To be honest,
no, it's tough. It's tough.
Even I haven't seen. I love Superman. I haven't seen the new one yet because the trailer was so uninspired. I'm like,
Yeah, no, it looked like shit.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd rather watch Superman Part 3 with Christopher Reeves. That
any day.
It was his worst one, but it was a great B movie fun, right?
Oh, totally.
So, so what's your take on all these Netflix movies coming out with the series? They had the Dahmer, and then they had the Menendez brothers and Ed Gein coming out pretty soon as a series.
Oh, I think I don't watch any of them because I hate streaming shit. I'm more of a physical media guy, and I rent them from the library once they come onto DVD or whatever. But I love the Netflix true crime stuff because it really helped sell Ed Kemper, because you're just like, well, geez, look at how Dahmer's doing. It's like through the roof. It's number one. Look at Menendez brothers, and the distributor's like, oh, you're right here. So it was one of those things that it's why true crime is incredibly hot thanks to Netflix, and all those people watching that and all the interest in it. It's just one of those things that helped boost the whole, true crime genre, and I guess, awareness, because everyone was like, of course you're into it, forensic files or cold case file, all these things that, I love, growing up and seeing and watching and, reading about serial killers and whatnot, because it's just fascinating. And then, but for this day and time, Netflix really kind of lit the fuse for me to make, once I'm finished this film, we'll send it to Epic Pictures or whichever distributor and say, hey, take a look at this. Oh, this looks great. Well, yeah, here's a low ball offer. But then you say, well, I got 4 other people interested, or distributors, because, look at how, Dahmer's doing, or Menendez. And then, they kind of are like, oh, you're right. Yeah. This is popular here. There is a value to this than some, schlocky.
Usually.
Crap that we'll pay a nickel for and it'll disappear in a week. They put some money behind it and they paid for it and it got out there and they promoted it, and I commend that. A lot of distributors don't have the guts to go full out and promote something and to give it some legs and to wait for it to catch on. A lot of times they just dump it out on streaming, and then it's on Tubi, and then no one remembers it.
Oh, poor Tubi.
Epic Pictures did a great job putting it out there, I'm thrilled to be, working with them, not only on Dorothea, which they're putting out later this year, but also, they're, behind Night Stalker. So, it's a good time to, for me, in my career, to, be making these things.
Definitely. Dorothea Puente, I'm assuming you're talking about.
Yes.
There might be one guy to talk to, I don't know if you're in the true crime world and the murderabilia world at all. Do you know William Harder at all?
No.
He has her ashes. He was technically her grandson.
Yep.
So
they sort of adopted each other.
Send him the link to have him take a look at it. I'd love to see what he thinks of it.
Because I don't know if you want any, like, as you're, not writing, but if you want any just kind of
it's all shot. It's ready to go. I thought,
it's already shot. Okay. It's already done.
I'll send you the link to it. It's coming out this year.
Cool.
Ooh, nice.
I got popcorn. I'm ready, man. I'm gonna go buy some
Whiteys
with the hole.
I'd love to get his opinion of it. He's like, oh, she had those same characters. She would act like that, whatever it would be.
Because that's the flip side of it. Like, I don't know your experience. So Sharon and I, we're big into writing pen pals, right?
Sure.
And we've written some big name people, and we're collectors of. I call it merbilia because it sounds better than murderbilia. I don't like that word. It's kind of icky. So I call it merbilia, like a mermaid or something.
Right.
So it's films like this that I still think that Ed Kemper is a little bit more untouched than Dahmer, and Netflix made him sexy again. How many people especially women, are attracted to the Jeffrey Dahmer in that film? In spite of his
very strange
his tastes, right? But that was for the
They
real
might be
Dahmer
able to
too.
convert him.
They can convert him, sure.
Yeah.
It's yeah. But so one individual I do write, I don't know if you know, and I think I wrote this down. I think you should be the director of the movie for Haddon Clark, the cross-dressing cannibal, if you
That
know
would
that
be a
one.
good one.
And because he was on Max, right? Max is what they call HBO. They had a documentary for him, so not an actual
I
movie
haven't seen it, but I've heard about it.
with Michael Bay.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
You haven't seen it?
I must look that it. No, I must
Oh,
look
and
into that one.
Haddon Clark he hates it because he said Michael Bay totally took advantage of him. Like, no, he didn't do that.
No way.
No way. But I think Kevin Spacey could play the part because I don't think anybody likes Kevin Spacey anymore, and he seems kind of creepy.
Oh, he'd be great.
He'd be great in that part. It was made just for him. So
You can get him cheap.
you could get him cheap now. Oh man, are there any serial killers that you would like to direct, or just
Richard Ramirez is pretty much the cherry on top of all things. It's really it took a lot out of me to be honest. It was really, it's unbelievable.
I can only imagine
the stuff he did, and it's terrifying. So that was one of the things where after finishing that script and then going to Sunset Strip Killers was kind of an easier thing because that's more of a true crime 9.5 weeks to me. So it has their torrid love affair, and they just kill hookers, just shoot them in the face or whatever it might be. It's not as graphic, and it's graphic, but not as extreme as Ramirez. That is really something that it also had all of LA frozen in fear for the summer and the heat and the and the people dumb enough to leave their doors and windows unlocked didn't survive. But and again, I don't say dumb enough. It's because a lot it's the same thing with Akia Koo and you're like, how could she have unlocked the door? Well, how could people have left their windows open or whatever? But you figure when it's 90 degrees out, you don't have air conditioning, and you're like, it's not going to happen to me. And then before you know it, a guy's in your living room and he's raping you 8 ways from Sunday,
right?
And, he shot your husband in the face, and your kid's screaming next to you, and this guy's beating the shit out of you, asking where the jewels and money is. So stuff happens that you never would think in a million years would happen, and before you know it, it's happened, and you're you're either going to die or you're going to live. So, and it seems random. The women, if they kind of gave him what he wanted, they lived and were able to tell the tale. And if they fought in any way, shape, or form, he bashed their head in or slit their throat or whatever it would be.
And his method, like I can see with the Ramirez, had to be more difficult to have to act and film, is because his method is very dark. He's a hands-on assailant.
Right.
Shooting someone in the head is easier to do for somebody who can do those. Not for us, obviously, but you know what I mean. It's unattached. It's not very physical, like Kemper with the gun and the knife, kind of close, but the happy face killer, with the strangling. So I think And I don't know if you know Bill Bonin from the Freeway. Using a shirt, and we talked to James Monroe, quite a bit actually. He was not his accomplice. He was just kind of happened to be there at the moment. Help me carry this body out real quick, please, kind of guy. Girl now.
Right.
So and we're asking, because we're asking someone who was actually there, why is Bill Bonin using a shirt? Because that seems kind of cowardly. Is it to hide the DNA? Just to make it easier? It just seems unattached a little bit, right?
Sure.
And kind of an asshole way to do, more torturous.
Right.
So we'll Night Stalker, will have any humorous aspects to it, or we're going all dark on this one?
I guess there might. I can't think of any humor off the top of my head.
Right.
But it does explore some of the reasons of why. For me, that is an interesting aspect. The same thing with Ed Kemper and the mother, and whether that's an excuse for killing people or raping them. No, of course not. I don't give a fuck what your childhood is. There's really no excuse for doing it. Is. But at the same time, you kind of want to show that aspect and delve into that. And for me, the interesting thing of when he was like 12 or 13. He spent a lot of time with his cousin Mike, and his cousin Mike was a 3-tour, highly decorated Green Beret in Vietnam. And, just think, Rambo in Vietnam basically going into villages at night and taking women, bringing them out into the jungle, raping the shit out of them, decapitating them, fucking the heads, taking Polaroid pictures of the heads, the bodies, and the whatever, like 30 or 40 different women in Vietnam during the war. And he brings all these photographs and all these stories and all this stuff back, and he regales young prepubescent Richard Ramirez with all these things. And Richard's going through puberty and whatnot, and he's looking at these pictures of whatever and hearing how his cousin cut this chick's head off and skull fucked her and came out her and all these things that are just like, for most people would be repugnant. But for young Richard Ramirez, it's, giving him a hard on. So those things, coupled with, Mike's wife coming home one day as he's telling Richard these stories, and they're having a good old time, and she starts nag. And he goes and he takes his, pistol and shoots her, right in the face, kills her dead in front of Richard and his two sons. And, Richard, don't tell a soul this happened. And Richard runs, like a bat out of hell, and kept that image in his head forever. And the smell of the blood and all these certain things that trigger that age. And especially, he had a form of epilepsy that Caesar and Van Gogh and all these kind of people that either you take that malfunction in your brain and put it toward artistic, whatever it is, or Napoleon toward world conquest or whatever it might be, whereas Richard, it's one of those things, the building blocks of, a famous killer, and, those certain things that kind of led to it. Is it an excuse for doing it? No, but it's an interesting facet of the things that the right place and the right time of creating someone that does atrocious things like Hitler or whatever it is. If Hitler had a different, avenue than painting, maybe he would have been, a street cleaner instead of, taking over the world. But, certain things that it's just fascinating when you look back on it, the certain things that led certain people to do what they did.
Well, and if you back that up to his cousin, what separated him? Because he had a uniform, he was in Vietnam. I mean, technically, he's a serial killer himself.
Sure.
Among many other people.
He's government sanctioned. He's a government sanctioned murderer.
Takes a government credential to make it legitimate, right? It's okay to do.
Well, what's surprising is, he only got a couple of years in the loony bin. Even back then they were like, oh, he's got the PTSD. I'm surprised they acknowledged it, because he was, he was only locked away for a few years and he was back out. And, to my knowledge, he didn't kill anyone else. So, maybe there was some truth to the PTSD, but, he still should have maybe been tried for the 40 different women he killed in Vietnam. But, those are just things that they don't really dig into that.
That's I guess a reason why a lot of criminals or serial killers were in military, right, Sharon?
It seems that way.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, Bonin was, Tina was, William Clyde Gibson was.
Right.
It's about all that I talk to right now, but but you do 60s. Find a lot of them go back, and they do. Yeah. They've come back from the war, Vietnam or World War II.
I think they even went in towards it. That was probably the incentive. Like, I get to go shoot so and so in the head. I'm like, fuck yeah, that's right. And there's no consequence.
I guess it would be an outlet for those urges, if you were, if there were a way to expel those demons, war would be a good way
to enhance it and push it forward at a whole different track and come back and train little Ramirez there. I heard there's stories where I have a friend from Arizona, and he was from Texas, and he had a teacher. He goes, little Richard used to sit in that chair right there, and he was a nice kid, But having he said epilepsy, right? And then seeing something so traumatic, it's kind of almost like someone who had any type of abuse can flip that switch, unbeknownst to yourself, but you have to have control and hopefully help. You have to have, I just see a lot of absent parents in some way. You got to notice your kids' behaviors change. You got to be on top of that.
Well, and that's the other thing. I know his parents did love him, but at the same time, the father was very erratic. He'd beat himself and the kids, and certain things. And one interesting thing of his mother was pregnant with him while she worked at the Tony Lama boot factory. So, and those were the days where she'd be mixing the dyes and the different colors for the boots with all these caustic chemicals in
Yeah.
a no ventilated room
Oh,
for
God.
8 hours a day, sucking in these fumes while pregnant. So there are certain things that are like, oh, well, that's an interesting tidbit of what, those chemicals could have done to the
Yeah.
fetus and all these certain things that, it's a very, intriguing thing to kind of dissect of the multitude of reasons of why he became who he became. I mean, it's really kind of fascinating.
It
And those
is.
are the things that I wanted to get in, because even the TV movie done in, like 89 or 90 was very accurate with the stuff it did, but it kind of followed the detectives and more so. And, the crime was just, over and whatever. For me, it's just like, and that's great. And that's a movie on itself. But if you're working on a limited budget and a limited time, and for me, I want to do stuff that hasn't been done, hasn't been seen, because otherwise, what's the point of doing it? Even if, it was done numerous times. There's a Lou Diamond Phillips version where he's from prison.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
the
You
shitty
just,
one in 2000 that was had Danny Trejo in it. It was God, I can't
yeah.
even remember. I think it was just called The Night Stalker. But there's certain things that it's just like it's never been done through his. And I guess a lot of people could say it's not tasteful or it's whatever. But to me, it's one of those things of showing. What the victim saw. Here's a guy coming in at the middle of the night and he's spending, 20 minutes raping and sodomizing and beating and whatever and ransacking your house and, certain things that it's like, okay, that is distasteful as it may be, is something that I want to know what these people went through, and I kind of want to see it. And when you couple that with the music of the era and the heat and the for me it's an exciting project, and I'm thrilled to be
I
doing
can't
it.
wait to see it. I think he even ate some of their food. Didn't he like make a sandwich one time or something? Like he was, that's like
There
the
was
worst.
one
Like,
where he had a Mountain Dew and a Coke in
yeah.
one woman's house. He had a honeydew melon in one and was spitting the seeds on the girl that he had just raped, and then sucking her milking breasts because she was pregnant, or she had a baby next to the bed, and so she was lactating. I mean, there's so many things that are just like you're it's jaw dropping, the facts
Yeah.
from that went on with the case, that very few people know the full details of each and every crime. It's
Well,
amazing.
yeah. I think it's good to go all out because I mean, it could be a good deterrent for someone too. Like if you really make these into heroes and not you really go light on their crime, then it just makes them seem kind of cool. If you
Right,
show
right.
how fucked up they were, and they're like, "Damn, this is there's no one to idolize," and people do. Like I like when people ask, "Who's your favorite serial
Yeah.
killer?" I don't have one. I don't idolize them. They're not my favorite.
Right,
I have a
right.
subject that I am interested in. Like I'm a huge
Yeah.
Charles Manson buff because of family connections, but not because of what they did. So
Right, right.
we can't idolize them. It's a study. It's
Sure.
a prevention. It's historical. That's why we kind of do what we do. I mean, it's fine. I was about to say Lou Diamond Phillip. I was going to ask you, were you able to get him to reprise his role as the Night Stalker in your film? He was pretty decent. I mean, I'm still thinking Young Guns, or was it
Sure, sure.
what else was in? But no.
No, he's great.
Yeah, I mean, that comes to a point of your actors that you've had, and they're all great actors. And I think to the trained eye of the horror genre, you're gonna see some familiar people. For
Sure.
instance, with Ed Kemper, we got Brinky Stevens, if I said that right. I can't read my own handwriting.
Yeah, Bring Stevens.
Yeah, from the Slumber Party Massacre. Like
Sure,
you'd see, like, I know her, man. I grew up watching her.
Yeah,
And
she's
then we also
fantastic.
had was it Lou Temple that was in some house? No, Devil's Rejects. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, they were both also in. What was it, the Pig Killer? Right?
yeah.
They're both in that.
No, well, it's funny. Lou, I've been working with since Someone's Knocking at the Door. So 2009. So
Yeah,
it's funny when you find these actors or crew or whoever that are good, and have a great attitude and show up and know their lines and get it done, and have a presence, and you just keep working with them because they're gonna show up.
They're going to show up. They probably they don't have the Lindsay Lohan attitude.
Right.
Easy to work with.
No, or like Brandon, dropping his drawers or getting naked and walling, dragging his dick in the gravel. You want an actor to do that without complaining. If someone's like, oh, okay, get the fuck out of here. You're given an opportunity. I don't give a shit if the budget's high or low. Someone wants you in their movie. Well, if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, Chad, I want you to direct my movie. We only got 10 grand." Well, let's see what we can do. And we'll make it work and not complain or whatever. Just be like, shit, I'm making a movie, and do the best you can. And that's all you can do. There's so many people that you work with $100 a day. Okay, I don't want you. You shouldn't be asking what the fuck the pay is. Someone's calling you up. They're giving you a role. You've got how many scenes. You should read that and go, oh, I can really make this something. Instead of, oh, how much am I getting paid? That has fucking nothing to do with it. I would have given up long ago if it were how much I'm getting paid. It's just, if the material works and you like it, or you can find something within it, even if it's a shit script, but you find something in the character that you're like, oh, I can make this better, or I can bring something to this. And then you embrace it wholeheartedly and give it 110%. Because on these movies, it's 10 days of your time, or 2 weeks, or whatever at the longest time. It'll be over in a minute. We start this movie on Monday, and before you fucking know it, it's over. No matter how hard it is, no matter how grueling it is, no matter how shitty the food is, it'll be over like that. And if the movie's good, you've done something. And if it's a piece of shit, you move on to the next one.
Right.
And you hope you learned what not to do on the last one, and just keep getting better and better and better. And that's the only advice I can give to any filmmaker out there. It's like, don't look at your budget or these things or whatever as a limitation. Look at it as a way to think around those problems, or think around, oh, we don't have the money to do this, but what if we did it this way instead? What if we, and outthink the problems or the budget or whatever it is to something that works for you artistically, and you're excited, and again, before you know it, it's over with. You move on to the next.
Yeah, we could use Brandon as an example. I don't know what his speeches were during it, but for one, he did a great Ed Kemper. I can kind of hear Ed through him. And plus, as a director, if he ever had a moment of doubt, like doing the scene, I'm like, dude, this is going to premiere on a big screen. They're going to be calling you Big Ed for a good reason. Your dating card's going to be filled up. Don't worry about it.
I don't know about the dating card.
Yeah, you get to see your mom's boobs, I guess. I mean, she's not really your mom, so pretend she's not your mom. It's but
no, all those actors gave 110%, and that's one of the things that makes it an enjoyable experience, because they show up and they bring something even more than on the page, and they had chemistry. Susan Prever was great as the mother, and Brink Stevens. I mean, they all kind of came together, and when they were in the room, you're seeing them put the scene down, and you're like, oh, this works. They have a chemistry, they have a whatever, and it just made it an enjoyable experience. And that's half the battle of directing, is finding actors that have that, whether they've kind of nailed the character or whatever, or their attitude coupled with that. It just makes it an easier, faster, and enjoyable thing when an actor is 100% there and believes in what they're doing and embraces it, whether there's nudity or whether there's, murdering someone or whatever it might be, and kind of, just step away from the true crime aspect. Because there are certain people who are offended by certain things, and they're like, oh, I can't go, it's like, a job is a job. And as long as you're not killing animals or hurting another person, and you just kind of do what actually happened and put that on the screen, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because, horrible things happen, and you're either going to never talk about it and ignore it, or you're like, let's show this shit.
Yeah.
Why not? You can either learn from it, or you can, take away something from it, or, whatever, or you can turn it off in 2 seconds and go on IMDb and say it's the worst piece of shit ever made. Whatever it is, it had an impact. And good,
Yeah.
bad, or indifferent, I tip my hat to that, because, at least someone's talking about it.
No, exactly. There was, and I'm also thinking I'm taken back by the practical effects within it, and all your films. There was a scene in Pig Killer, and actually I have some quotes here, and I had to get these approved by Sharon before I could say these. So my favorite quotes were. So I was saying, Sharon, do you remember this? The term of what sweaty eyes are? It's no money, no fucking. We got stick that little pinky inside my mud hole. I was dying when I was hearing these. Fill my butthole with your cream snot. Man, this is love making 101. This is definitely how to get a spouse in tune, and then
you can use those terms.
Yeah.
Dig it.
and the gook in that film, I think that was one of the most disgusting BJs I've ever seen in my life. That was great.
It was great.
I thought Ron Jeremy was gross. This guy took the cake on that.
And that was
fucking awesome.
Another true thing where his friend had, the cancer of the neck, and he had the little tracheotomy, and he had the tube.
Yeah.
And there were certain details that, I loved, and those were adding those little, tidbits. And Kurt Bonzel, who played him, did a fantastic job, and again embraced it. He even had his own makeup person come, because we couldn't really. Joe Castro was doing all this other stuff from whatever, and didn't have time to totally devote to Kurt. So Kurt hired someone to make him bald, to do the neck thing, all these great things that are like, out of his own pocket. So there's certain things that some actors really embrace things, and it's a great feeling to find when you're on these low on the set where someone brings this up or says, "Hey, I can do this," or "Oh, don't worry about it. You don't have to pay me. This is an amazing role," or whatever it is. I know that use my money for catering or whatever it might be. And
that's awesome. No, they love their craft. And that film, and Sharon, she thought it was the other Busey, but it was Jake. I'm like, no, Aaron Busey doesn't look that good anymore. God bless him, poor guy, right? But Jake
he's still
Busey,
sharp
I think,
as a tack. Actually, he's able to rattle off.
Yeah,
great stories.
No, he's great. To me, he was reminding me of his role when he was in the Frighteners, when he's kind of playing.
Sure,
it's kind of reminiscent of the Starkweather character of what they were doing, but yeah, I mean, you're getting. I'd say he's a big name, and all these folks, to me, they're big names, and even if you didn't know who they were, they're great actors, right?
Sure.
So it does help with the horror fans when you see someone. It's like it's also a good film because you cared, you had budget, unless they volunteered, like you said, for the part because they believe in the project.
No, he was great, but that's another one where it's like, here, how much you got? Well, we've got cash in a brown paper sack, and you want to do it in 5 days? Okay, great. And he had this kind of sleazy manager dude, and I'll never forget. It was hey, cash in a brown paper sack and do whatever, and that's fine. I totally understand that, and it worked, and it's a great thing because you're like, okay, this is like making a car deal or whatever. You want this old muscle car? Well, it's meet me under the bridge at whatever and bring cash and a so it kind of gave this fun and whatever, and Jake had a great attitude, and he was committed, and he showed up, and it was one of those things. So once you get the bit, because it's like anytime you make these things, it's like if they have an agent or a manager, it's always a pain in the ass, and it's always better to just contact them directly and say, hey, here's the script, here's how much we got, here's how many days, want to do it, and most of the time they're great about it. Sometimes they're just like, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is, you're insulting me. Well, so some people, Eddie Furlong was another example, hadn't worked in a while, I had this script, and it's like, hey, it's H.P. Lovecraft, it's whatever, you'd be great. You kind of dress like Columbo, and it's a detective angle, and here's how much we got. Do you want to do it? Sure, let's do it. And it never hurts to ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to. Yeah, you have to ask, you have to take the chance, and wow, man. I mean, I think you worked with and we haven't talked about Trauma, right? Your time
sure
with that outfit. You were helping with the the Trauma TV, right? You're directing some episodes from that.
Yeah, no, that was one of the things. They had a little office out here in LA, and it was, they had picked up Unspeakable, and they had released that. So it was like a year or two after, and they were having me do some interviews because I remember I found out that they had a film that I loved, Christmas Evil, that stars Brandon Maggart, and I called up Troma and I'm like, hey, you've got this great movie in your catalog. You should release a DVD special edition, and I'd love to interview the director. Okay, and I'm like, Brandon Maggart is Fiona Apple's father. Oh my God, yo, let's put this out. So that was one of the things that they're like, oh, Chad, you want to interview Brandon Maggart and Lewis Jackson, the director? And of course, so we had, there was certain things that was a great gig, and then help out on the TV show that was Edge TV in the UK. I mean, it was a good time, and it was one of those things that again, you don't really appreciate it at the time. It's like you're getting paid a nickel, and you're whatever, and you kind of complain about it. But looking back on it, it's like, again, it was a great time and a good time, and good people.
If someone said Trauma, I'd be there. I'd pay them $5, man, to be there.
Yeah.
I love those films. Did you ever? Well, I mean, how often is Lloyd Kaufman around any of his films unless he's starring in it, right?
No, it was, he'd come out to LA a couple times, and like Tales from the Crapper, we shot some reshoots and pickup shots for that to make it fit into one movie, because I think it originally was like two different movies that the producers had taken whatever budget that he had given them and squandered it on cocaine and hookers, and so he had to kind of salvage what they had. So I helped direct some of the wraparounds, and it was one of those things that he came out for that. And I remember he had like a 2-liter thing of Diet Coke and Goldfish crackers, and he's like, here's your craft service. And it's like, oh my God. But, again, I met John Santos through that, who I've worked with on numerous films, and, Florian and Adam Janke, and, all these different people that I've known throughout the years and have helped me on other films. And, it's just, you kind of just have that. Tiffany Shepis, certain people that you work with and had a good time, and, and share that trauma bond.
Well, to me, you are a real director. I don't need to tell you that, but you're in it because you fucking love it, right? You're not just working for a company. Oh. It's your craft. I hope you can make a nice living off it still, so it'll help encourage you to keep making these films.
Right.
Before I forget, I have a funny Lloyd Kaufman story. I kind of met him once, and I don't know if I told you this story, Sharon. So I live in Fort Collins, Colorado. We have the Lyric. It's a really cool independent movie house, right?
Sure.
And so it was Trauma Week. They were showing Toxic Avenger and a couple other movies, and I even forget the one that I saw. And I chose this one specifically because he was going to do a Q&A live, but it was on his computer. So I'm sitting on a couch, and the computer's right in front of me, and he shows up in his doesn't have pants on, but he has underwear, and he's just kind of sitting there jingling his junk around. And then me being the funny guy that I am, so I talked with do you know Robert Bardo?
Yeah.
So I took Robert to the movies that night. We did a video visit, and I'm sitting there with Robert Bardo on the phone looking towards Lloyd Kaufman, but I'm trying not to have the staff look at me. They might be okay, they may not be. And Robert's all, are we live yet? Is that Lloyd? And I'm like, shh. They're gonna hear you. I might get kicked out because people think this is weird, probably. So I figured I had to make a moment. I had to make the moment, and I'm waving at Lloyd. I don't know if he saw me because I'm right there on the screen, and the audio didn't work, so no one could hear him. They had to translate, but I could hear him because I'm right there by the computer screen. And he is funny. You could tell he was definitely loving his wine in New York, and unbeknownst to him, he did meet Robert Bardo. He just doesn't know it. So that's my story, and I don't know if I ever do that again. So yeah, that's how we operate. Sharon, did you have any other questions?
I did actually. I wanted to know if with the Ed Kemper movie, was it a deliberate thing to leave out the where he was in the bar and he was always talking with the cops and
no, that was originally in the script, and I was like, I loved it, and I loved that angle and getting, he was because he was kind of he was a buff, basically a police buff,
yeah,
and and he kind of really, but it was just time wise because it goes down to the location we had, this bar location for like 3 hours. So it was either for me to build more of the mother scene and with the friend and whatever, or the cops. So the mother thing kind of beat it out, but it was in the original script. And that's one thing that for the director's cut, I want to include the original script by Stephen Johnson, without me touching it, that has, it was basically a $5 million script. Yeah. So it has every detail of like that. And the throwing the darts at his mother's head and all those things that actually happened, that happened. But for me, it was just time wise and constraints that taking them out where I would have loved to have had them, but
we talked about that too. I was a little surprised, and I don't want to get spoilers, but I thought he was going to play helicopter with their head, if you know what I mean, and I was expecting a little bit more.
Right,
but less is more. We already saw plenty, and
No, to me, it was, the important thing, the larynx down the garbage, the certain things that I remember reading about Ed as a kid that stuck out in my head. I remember, it was like the Encyclopedia of True Crime. It was a little yellow jacketed book that had all the different serial killers on it. It was like a small kind of thing. And I remember reading, each serial killer had like a paragraph or a page, even if depending on how many people they had killed. And that's what I remember seeing about, that stuck in my head about Ed Kemper is, seeing the devil in the stove or hearing these, certain things that I remembered that when I had read the script, I'm like, oh yeah, this is pretty accurate. And then you start reading up on, Wikipedia these days to, basically to check the truth of the script. And you're like, oh, Stephen hit the nail on the head for 90% of it. So that's always a refreshing thing where someone had even, because the script was written in the 90s. So it's good to know that someone had done their research without the internet and, actually, read up on it, nailed the parts. And then you go through it and you double check it now to make sure you're getting the facts straight and add in the certain things like the girl unlocking the door or certain things that, may not have been as, publicized back in the day, but certain things like that is when you go down the true crime rabbit hole, it really is not only disturbing but at the same time fascinating, and it's really an amazing thing that the effect it has when you kind of find these things out. It's like going down all the conspiracy theories rabbit hole, and you learn things, and you can either kind of go, lizard people, whatever, but there's certain things that you're like Pizzagate or whatever that you're like, oh my god, that is kind of weird, and that it's fascinating and at the same time entertaining. So whatever you take from it, if you take it as the Holy Bible and it's the truth that Barack Obama's raping kids, whatever it might be, if it's just, to me, that some of those things are so far out there, yet at the same time so wildly entertaining that how can you not?
I'm on board. So you're going to be the first one to make a movie about Bohemian Grove. I'm in support of this. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
That's the one place I would love to infiltrate. So I am, or kind of was, a Freemason, so I'm into secret societies.
Sure.
And it's as boring as you think it is. But I think where the real action at is Bohemian Grove. I think that's where they get down.
Well, I think that's one of the most when you say Freemasons, I always think of Jack the Ripper and all these certain things that you're like, again, back to the true crime thing of where Freemasonry is kind of has a hook in pretty much everything from presidents to doctors to kings to queens to serial killers to whatever it might be. And, to me, that's really a fascinating, thing. And it's always one of those things that you can have the graphic novel and the Johnny Depp
From Hell,
film From Hell.
Exactly.
Not the greatest movie, but it has some amazing things, and the graphic novel's amazing, and it does intertwine those and have great aspects. So there's certain things that, and it again makes you go back into reading more up on Jack the Ripper and more up on the different theories from it, and again, true crime is a fascinating thing that I personally love. So it's for me of trying to give what I can to it,
Yeah,
and do it justice, and make it as entertaining for me to the audience when I make these films.
it's a rabbit hole. I mean, for one thing, as you mentioned, the Freemasons, they've had their hand in everything with American history. They're pretty much given a nod that yes, we were part of the Boston Tea Party or the Masons. Pretty much is what they're admitting to. Yeah, I mean, I'm only a third degree, and I stopped doing it just because it's not my forte. I'm an independent dude, and I like being told what to do.
Sure.
Not that they do. That's with anything. If you go to church, you have group rules you got to follow by, and it just ain't me, But I enjoyed learning the different degrees. It was a cool experience. I would never knock it.
No, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
Was someone in your family a member?
No.
You were able to just join?
Not that easily. I had to hang out with them for 6 months. You have to know them for them to. So I went to every Wednesday. I was able to go and have food with them, and they go upstairs and do their thing. I tell you that doing my first degree, because you can't. It's all out there. You can't say the secrets, but it's all on the internet. Trust me, there's no secrets.
Right.
It's just the experience that you're not supposed to share.
Sure.
And sitting in what they call the room of reflection was one of the scariest moments of my life.
Wow.
To hear a bunch of men say the Pledge of Allegiance. And it's just the power, because you don't know, and they joke with you. They try to scare you. So I was going, oh, fuck, what did I do, man?
Right.
Because I guess it's part of I want to know secret societies. I want to know true crime. I want to know these aspects of life to kind of experience from the inside of it,
Sure.
So yeah, it's wow. I don't know. I think we can mic drop. I don't know if I have anything else for you. I mean, we could talk forever on true crime subjects. Sharon, anything that you had? I think we covered everything.
Oh, I just think you should think about doing a movie on Bill Bonin.
Yes.
Write the script.
She did.
I've written the book,
Send it.
but I can't do scripts.
Send it.
She has a book.
Send the book.
I will send you the book. And
That's
someone
a
else
story.
can convert it to a script.
Oh, that'd be great. Yes.
That is a huge story. I mean, we're with Patrick.
No,
Carey.
that is. Yeah. I think like you're saying with yours, it goes deep. I tell it as it is.
Ooh,
and
I
from
love it.
Bonin's point of view and shit. So a lot of people have trouble reading it because it's pretty graphic.
Send it.
I will.
Yeah. It's good stuff. And this is us in a nutshell. This is our podcast, and this is what we do.
You guys are great. I love it.
We've enjoyed you. Hopefully you come back again. I mean, your next premiere,
absolutely.
Sharon, and let's talk about it, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my favorite lines from it, and I'll make another song to movie track for you.
Perfect.
I want to make it.
You can be the composer. The composer for the after fact.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be. I'm an artist. I'm a painter and a drawer. So we're all the same. Just different tools.
Yeah,
Totally.
We think the same.
Totally.
And that's why I had you on the show, because I saw you on a nice Instagram post, and it was just learning about this film. It's I know this guy, and this Ed Kemper's I want to talk to him. So thank you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the
Appreciate it.
show.
It's been an
We
honor.
appreciate it.
Everyone, watch these movies, please, and we're going to promote this. This will probably come out. I'm not sure yet. Next Wednesday, next Saturday, it'll come out.
Oh,
I do some
great.
nice editings to it. It's going to be fun.
We'll let you know.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we'll share the link. And well, my name is Jeff. This is the show. Name pending.
My name's Sharon. Yep. Pending.
Pending.
We'll get a name eventually.
Yeah. Long story behind that. I won't bore you with it, but it's going to be good. Good night, everybody.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
What have you done? It's not natural.
Do it, Eddie. Get your cock in the rough. Pull it out and stick it up your ass. Stab her in the pussy. Go ahead, Eddie. Do it. Fuck her face. Fuck her mouth. Kill her.